Welcome everyone to the fall edition of Marketing Automation Day, and it becomes Nordic more and more. This is actually one of my favorite conferences, as we do that twice a year, and we're getting more and more attendees all the time. So 500 registrants for the conference today, and it's a new record, so we are very happy. Consumers' expectations to receive relevant and personal communication from brands is increasing over time. We see that very clearly. Customer experience starts to be vital in a multi-channel environment, and of course, I mean, it's more of a hygiene factor that we need to do this, and customers expect us to do this as a brand. Okay, Ventilation goes Nordic, as I said, and today we have about 25% of the delegates coming from outside Sweden, and because of that, we do this conference in English. Except for the last presentation in the end, that will be with the Bonnier News, that will be in Swedish. But actually, the slides will be in English. So even if you don't understand perfectly Swedish, I think you can follow up and understand what she's talking about. Okay, good. My sidekick today is Daniel Johansson. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you, Mats. And good morning, everyone watching. It's great to be back with another session of Marketing Automation Day, and we have a great lineup of speakers who are all eager to get started. So I will keep this short and end by saying, if you have any questions for the speakers during the session, just write them in the chat, and I will make sure to bring it up during our Q&As.
Okay, good. Perfect. And what about doing some polls?
Yeah.
Shall we do that now and ask the audience?
Absolutely.
We usually do that, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. We will ask you a first question now and see what you think about that. And we will also compare that with last year's results. So the first poll is, what is the most important value gained from marketing automation? Let's see what we find in that poll. As I said, we will show the last year's result, and then we will show this year's result. So question is actually, what is the most important value gained from marketing automation? We are ready, Daniel, with the poll?
Do you want to share the latest results from the last
maybe
year?
I should let them just answer a little bit.
They are
answering. That's coming in. That's interesting. So let's see about the last year's result. And you see there, it's a word cloud. It will not be a word cloud this time, but still it's data, customer insights, of course, personalization, I guess relevance, kind of the same as maybe that we expected. Let's see what you think about this time. Do we have any coming in more answers, or is it time to show the result? Yeah. Could we show the result? Voy is our producer, so he showed the result. There you are, and I can look at my pad here. New leads to 24%, or personalization, of course, is going up. Customer insights 46, increased loyalty 48, also going up. Data gathering 26, high return on investment 20. Of course, always high return on investment. I guess that is the ultimate goal of everything. But personalization is the major, and relevance for the audience, of course, is the relevant. It's the most important. Okay. So what about checking the next question? So you are ready there. The second question is, do you have a marketing automation system implemented already today? That's interesting. We saw that when we did the CDP day, that actually we have a very low rate of implemented CDPs, but marketing automation, I think, coming further. So do we have a result there, or we have a poll going on? Good. That is open. And let's see the result for that one. Let's see if I can see the result also on my iPad. Not really, but so you see the result there. It's very high for some of the answers. And it's interesting to see, of course, to compare that what you answered today. So let's see. if we have implemented and if it's higher rate or not. So you see, could we show the result for this year then to compare with the last year? Here it is, 97%. So it's going up, Daniel, is that correct?
Yeah, that's really.
It's increasing from last year. Interesting. A year ago. Oh, it's only it's almost 99. It's almost everyone have a marketing automation system implemented, and I hope that that you get used to it and a good value out of it and ROI from it also. Okay, good. Thanks. Perfect. Thank you for all the answers. And we're coming back on that, and let's see. So, you know the program, we are trying always to mix consultants and experts with cases, companies telling what they've done or their experiences, and we have a pretty good mix of actually both companies that have done things and already done with the project and can show results of it, but also more companies that are more in the middle of everything and are planning to do things, and they will tell about their thinking and their ideas and thoughts and so on. So I think that is the different phases that the companies are in, and that I think is a very good mix of what we can learn from today, and also consultants and experts. So let's see. The first speaker that we will have is we will talk about the effect of automated communication at scale, and that of course is interesting for many of us. Meet a very experienced MA and loyalty consultant and the CEO at Oculos Sweden, Annika Grömmert Klang. Welcome, Annika. Very happy to have you here.
Thank you, Mats.
So what do you mean with at scale?
I'm going to talk about automation at scale today, and that is how you can set up marketing automation and communication in a way so that you can scale it up easily.
Okay, good. Welcome. Stage is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So I'm Annika. Great to be here. So today I'm going to talk about communication at scale and show you an example on how you can set up communication in a way that feels highly personal, even when it's not really. And I will do so by showing you a case from Möller Mobility Group. And Möller Mobility Group is the biggest car company in the Nordics and the Balticum. And this is the story on how they turned email communication into company-wide results. There you go. And Harald A. Möller is Norway's largest car dealer, and with the car brands of Volkswagen, Skoda, Audi, Seat and Cupra. And the car industry is still quite a traditional industry, and a lot of the communication goes through the salesmen at the car dealerships. But Möller could see that there was great potential in using email as a support for the salespeople, and there was a great potential for maintaining good customer communication with the customers even when they left the dealerships, also to boost upsell and cross-sell, and also to build brand and loyalty over time. Yeah, sorry. So this project was initiated around 5 years ago. And at this time, Möller worked mostly with ad hoc campaigns when they were using email as a channel. And this gave limited insights and learnings from the campaigns going out. And it was difficult for them to understand what was the customers actually thinking and feeling, and how can they to get more learnings from this. And there was also limited control and maybe understanding of what kind of data, customer data they possessed, and how they could work with it in a much better way. So this project also aimed to boost collaboration internally within Möller, as well as boost collaboration with external partners. And in this particular case, there was multiple external partners involved. There was Adobe, who provided the platform. It was Merkle, who did the technical implementations and data models, and it was Oculos doing customer journey mapping, and communication strategy. So lots of people involved, as well as the internal stakeholders. And the strategy was to focus on the main communication channel, which was the email channel. And the email that was being sent out, they were much more about what the sellers wanted to sell or tell the customers, and not so much for what the customers actually would like to receive. Not looking from the customer's perspective at all. And Möller therefore wanted to go from having more of a email blast and one message to everyone, to be able to do personalized, automated, and segmented campaigns on an individual basis. And before the communication strategy even worked, there was extensive work done on the IT platform and on the architectural side. There was a lot of work done to find out where is the customer data hosted, and how can we build a model in the best way to utilize all the data. And it was hosted in the CRM system, which was MS Dynamics at the time. And the system had the information about everything around the car you ordered, and also everything around the customer. So how to build a solid back-end platform that could actually be used to trigger communication in Adobe Campaign, which was the campaign engine. So there were specific KPIs and goals set up for this project as well. The first one was meet the customer's needs and behavior with automated and relevant communication at the right time. Second one is increase opening rate from the benchmark of 25%. Third one was increase sales of parts, accessories, and services, such as EU inspection and service. And the last one, reduce pressure on customer service. And I think these KPIs are really interesting, because if you look at the first one, to be able to send relevant content to the right person at the right time, I mean, that's something that everyone wants to be able to do, right? But it's a bit hard to measure. It's more of a soft KPI. But then if you look at the other KPIs, they're much more of the hard KPIs and a bit easier to measure. And I believe that if you manage to increase the opening rate, if you manage to increase sales and services, upsell, cross-sell, and if you manage to reduce pressure on customer service, it probably means that you achieve the first KPI as well. So I think this was a very clever way for Möller to build their KPIs and include both the soft and hard ones at the same time. And Möller decided on an overall creative concept that was to be part of every decisions related to this project. And that's because we know your car. And Möller also won a lot of prizes on this concept and the email campaigns, but that's in Norwegian, so that's why I kept the Norwegian tagline, because I think that is really what it means, för de vi känner bilen till. And with the overall concept, because we know your car, we worked in the following way. First, we developed a complex data model and created integrations between the systems so that we could utilize all the data in Adobe Campaign. Designed email templates that's based on each car brands, you remember the 5 brands, on their visual identity and tone of voice, with various modules adapted to Adobe Campaign. And then we developed customer journeys, and here we worked out on finding the natural trigger points for when do you actually want to receive a certain piece of information. So all from the customer's perspective. And then for each and every email, there was copy created, so that there was actually a customer journey, and then each and every email was written out. So to give you a really good experience and a good understanding of what these journeys would look like. And then, of course, all of this was implemented into Adobe Campaign. And all of this together reinforce the concept, because we know your car, because that was the ultimate goal, with all the communication being sent out. And here you can see the mapping on how we look at designing email templates. This is a busy slide, but it actually visualizes the great work you put into this design. And the email templates were designed with a rich variety of modules, as you can see, and they're tailored to each car brand's visual identity and tone of voice. And the example you see here is for Cupra, but of course this was done for all the 5 brands. And then all of this design was implemented into Adobe Campaign. And I think an important note here is that I believe that the best design is actually created based on the knowledge of the system you're gonna use to send out the emails or any other channel. And there needs to be a really good collaboration between the designer and the persons actually building the templates. And I really don't mean that the systems should set any technical boundaries. I think it's quite the opposite. It's more that if you know the possibilities and the limitations of what a system can do, you can create the best email templates ever. And you will get better rendering, better responsiveness, deliverability, and so forth. Then all customer journeys and dialogue programs were developed with a 5-year horizon. And there was extensive research and service done to understand the customer's needs for, exactly when in time would they like to receive information. And this is where customer service comes in as well, because if you have customer service, they would probably know when do people ask for certain things, what questions are always coming back. After you order a car, what do you need to know after 1 month, after 3 months, and so forth. So this knowledge and insights were all used to create the customer journeys, because, just think about it. If you know when in time does a certain question sort of show up at customer service, what if it's possible to answer that question even before the customer actually know they have it? So that ties back to the customer service KPI as well. So let's have a look at one of the journeys, do a bit of a deep dive. And this is the waiting program. And sometimes when you order a car, or maybe every time, it can take months before you actually get the car. And during this waiting period, that's a really good chance to talk to your customer. The person waiting for the car is really eager to get to know everything about the car, and it's a great opportunity to talk about the car. And remember the tagline, because we know your car, there's probably plenty to talk about and a lot of insights to share. So this particular program spans from signed contract to when you actually get the car delivered to you. And the aim of this program is to give the customers a good car buying experience. Simplify dealerships' everyday work, rationalize the purchase in hindsight, and also improve the upsell of parts and accessories, financing, insurance, wheel storage, and services. And all these ties back to the KPIs we saw in the beginning. And all of this mapping was done for all of the journeys as well. So the program kicks in when the contract of your new car has been signed. And you receive the first email, You receive the first email the day after signing. And this email is all about how happy we are that you've chosen us to deliver your car. And this is the actual email that's being sent out. So you can see here, we're so happy you trust us. And I think it's important to tell your customer these things. And after having approximately 7,000 emails sent out, Möller did an analysis to look at the results. And we can see that there's an open rate of 86%, click-through rate 50%, and maybe the most engaging number of all, that the email was opened over 5 times, which is pretty good. But adding to this journey, there's also an SEO and SEM strategy to match the content in the emails. And this could be ads, pushing a car cage for your pet that matches the model of the exact car that you bought. Or it could be a child seat. Or maybe it's something in season, like a talk box, for example. Then we have some inspirational email going out, plenty to talk about when you're waiting for your car. Then you have an email that says, you know what, the car actually arrived to the country, to the warehouse. And this email also holds information around financing options, upsell and cross-sell of parts, how to store your wheels, things like that. And then, of course, it's the email that you've been waiting for all along that actually says that, you know what, you're going to get your car, it's going to be delivered tomorrow. And that's maybe the most important email of all. And this is the actual email being sent out. It's just around the corner. Soon the wait will be over. And again, Möller did an analysis to look at the results after having approximately, okay, so maybe some of the text got lost on this slide, so have a look. So after having approximately 3,500 emails sent out, there was an open rate of 77%. There was a click-through rate of 33%. And maybe the most engaging number of all, the email was opened over 4 times. And after your car has been delivered, then of course you enter a new journey that could be my first year as a car owner journey, for example. So it doesn't end, and all of these journeys follow the customer throughout the customer lifecycle. And just think about all of these journeys. You have 5 brands, different car models, and to manage as many brands and models that Möller offers, that's put a lot of pressure on automation and the system. And it wouldn't be possible to do this manually and keep track on all of these journeys and emails. So how can you create content, that would actually be perceived as personalized for all of these journeys that are automated and being sent for as long as 5 years. And all of these emails are written in a very generic way, but still gets perceived as personal. And the email template modules, they're built in a way that makes this possible, has great flexibility to them. So just looking at the templates in front of you here on the screen, you can see that there are personalization tags on 7 different places on the email on the left side. You have first name, you have last name, you have car brand, you have the model, you have segmented images that actually pulls out the color of the car you order and the exact model. So when I open this email, I know this email is for me because I can see my car. It's in this exact right color. There are modules for running text and headlines where you can merge in personalization and segments based on segments. And there's also the local touch to it that you can add in the dealer's name and logo so that you can feel that this is really, it's sent from the person who actually where you bought the car. There's also segmentation, so you can add in products that is based on the model of the car you bought. And there's also, segmentation that you can use if this car is maybe an electric car or a fossil car, and so forth. So to summarize, through good data structure, data models and integrations, there are now 350 automated emails triggered at the right time to send to the correct customer with relevant and segmented content throughout the customer lifecycle. And how did it go? So we're going to look at some results. And the email produced record results. And open rate went from 25 to 55%, which is pretty good. Personalized emails accounted for 80% of all turnover and conversions from email. 10% of the customers in the waiting program that entered on average 2 more order lines while waiting. And 10% corresponds to around 6,000 customers. So you can just, do the math and count that's a massive achievement and makes a big difference on the turnover as well. And then customer service. With now having 350 automated emails going out that has an impact on customer service, and there's a reduce on inquiries with 80%. And what can we learn from this? Make sure to gather customer insights by involving the people who meets the customers at a daily basis. For Möller, this was the car salesman and customer service. Make the effort to create a solid data model that will support your vision on how you want to communicate. Without it, it will be very difficult to meet your goals. Choose platform made for scale, if scale is important to you, but make sure that you have the foundation in the back end that supports the vision on how you want to communicate. Choose what's best for you. And then stakeholder management and agency collaboration, both internally and with external partners. This is super important. And maybe the last but most important one, don't panic. These types of projects always takes time. Now we've been talking about a really big project that's been running for years. But also just a smaller project, there's still a lot of internal stakeholders involved, departments, technology, process, people, technology. It always takes time, and to make everyone on board and make sure that this is, running smoothly. So just don't panic. And that was all from me. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions after this, just reach out. You see my contact details.
Well, thank you, Annika. Very interesting. And I have some questions. I know, Daniel, we also have some questions from the audience, but let's start with my question as I'm in the studio. So, you are a consultant, and if you look at this project or traditional general in projects, what is your view on the perfect mix between you as an agency and the customer? How should we think there as a buyer of your services?
Good question. And I think that it's good to, if you haven't been involved in this type of project before, it can be really difficult to manage a project like this internally. And that is just because it does, it involves people from different departments. It involves processes. It could be sales, marketing, IT, for example, customer service, usually different departments. You have processes that spans over all of these different departments as well. And you have people in different places. And then you have technology underneath it that's going to support all of these different parts in the organization. And if you haven't been running a project like that before, then it's really good to use external expertise to do so, because it will be a bit easier to manage and you will learn over time.
Yeah, and you've done it before.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and who from the business side or from the customer side should drive is it the IT or is it the marketing or?
I think that could be a bit different. It's usually not IT. It could be marketing or sales, for example. But it definitely should have buy-in from all the departments and C-level that is involved in this project.
Okay, good. Daniel, questions from the audience?
Yeah, we have one question here. How did you handle extra orders that derived during their journey? You were talking about
the extra order lines.
Yeah. Did they go into another journey in the flow or?
Actually, I can't answer that question exactly what happened if there's another journey that they come into. But I know that you can order extra things, I think, from the email you received or calling into customer service. But I can find out.
Great. I have another one here. During the waiting time after you have ordered your car, how often did you send out emails to the person? Like frequency.
Yeah, the frequency. I think that depends on how long the waiting times are, and I guess that could be a bit different depending on the car model and the car brand, and also when in time you order the car. So I think that could actually vary a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Back to you.
Back to me, and I mean, very interesting case, I believe, and of course also as you as a consultant. But we meet you again when you in the panel that we come up with very soon after the break. So thank you very much. And now it's time for actually pretty logical with Adobe coming up, and we have a speaker from them. So let's see if we can connect up to another city in the world. Please welcome next speaker to discuss around B2B customer journey maturity from a studio in Paris, product marketing manager at Adobe, Anya Sai. Hello, Anya.
Hi, can you hear me?
We hear you well.
Yes, great.
Very nice.
So hi everyone.
And
Yeah,
Anya, it was very, I mean, it was very logical flow here with Annika presented. I don't know if you heard that, but Annika presented.
yes,
Yeah, you did with the Möller Mobility Norwegian customer of yours.
yeah, exactly.
Good.
So yeah, hi everyone. I'm happy to join virtually from Paris, and I will be discussing with you B2B customer journey maturity. So, do you know that actually less than 18% of B2B marketers see themselves as only advanced when speaking about customer journey? So first of all, let's have a look at what is a customer journey. So the Gartner definition is that a customer journey is a tool that helps marketers understand the series of connected experiences that customer desire and need, whether that be completing a desired task or traversing the end-to-end journey from prospect to customer to loyal advocates. Earlier this year, Adobe partnered with the London Research to run a report on customer journey maturity. And what we find out is that 60% of B2B businesses are seeing an increase in interaction through digital channels. It means that we are seeing more digital consumption, and this is a result of, first of all, the pandemic, but as well accelerated digital transformation. What does it mean actually for B2B businesses is that they need to provide relevant and high quality digital content for the customers and prospects. And this actually require a right mix of know-how, culture, processes, and capabilities across the business. And it requires as well alignment between different business functions, especially sales and marketing. As for example, we see that within organization, sales rep are actually spending less and less time engaging directly with their customers and prospects. So again, this is critical to find the way to engage in a relevant manner and in a scalable manners with your prospect and customers. Another interesting finding from this report is that we do see an increase in the number of different channels used to engage with prospect and customers. So in average, B2B marketers are actually using 11 different channels to reach their customers. It means that the path to purchase, the path to reach consumers is very diverse and very fragmented. And obviously, this requires for B2B businesses a need to invest more and more in automation, personalization, and analytics. And this obviously comes with a lot of challenges. So when asked about the biggest challenges that they are facing, B2B customer journey are actually pointing a couple of main challenges. So the most concerning one are the lack of understanding around customer behavior, the lack of real-time data and real-time intent, and the lack of digital capabilities within the organization. So digitals and B2B customer journey are actually struggling to correlate what consumers are actually looking for online, where to find them in the purchase cycle, and with which channel to engage with them. So let's look at what leaders are actually doing better compared to the mainstream one. So the first one is actually harnessing data and data from multiple sources. So for example, they actually leverage revenue attribution to prove and improve the impact of the marketing campaign. They use real-time data insights about the consumer so they can create a personalized asset personalized content to reach the consumers, and then obviously digital analytics to make sure that they measure the impacts of those contents and the effectiveness of the marketing campaign. Another thing that leaders are doing better is that they are more than twice as likely to be very much focused on personalization. So last year, McKinsey report said that personalization drives performance and better customer outcomes. Companies that grow faster drive 40% more of their revenue from personalization than their slowing growing counterparts. It means that leaders understand that personalization is one of the core aspects of B2B marketing, and they make sure to invest and harness all of the aspects of personalization, like centralized customer data, content creation. And this is where marketing automation is playing an important role. So let's have a look at the 6 key areas to invest for seamless and personalized B2B customer journey. So the first one is make sure to have relevant content to engage with prospects. Again, review and optimize the channel mix, have a test and learn approach, audit your digital capabilities, use a wider range of data and metrics for insights, and last but not least, make sure to integrate with technology. So let's explore all those key areas. So the first one, surface relevant content to engage and identify prospects. So we talked a lot about personalization, how it is important to actually target the right customers at the right time with the right message. But not only it is important to understand the likelihood of a prospect to become a sales opportunity, it is actually important to drive this efficiently and at scale. So how to do that? You have centralized consumer data through marketing automation. If you combine that to CDP as an example, you can enrich the profile of users on account based. And this is a way to really understand who are your potential consumers, what they are interested in, and how to engage with them. So you can better prioritize your lead and actually have a better impact with your marketing campaign. Review and optimize the channel mix. So I talked about the increasing number of different channels being used to engage with prospect and customers. So what is important is that you need, as a B2B players, as a B2B marketers, to make sure that you engage with your consumers and with your prospect across all those different channels. And obviously, this is not something that we can do manually anymore, and this is where you need automation. So you need to leverage marketing automation that will actually create a campaign across different channels, integrate those different channels with your businesses, and obviously help to nurture and engage with your customers, and again, at scale. Commit and test approach. So we talked about how to integrate with technologies, and one of the things that shouldn't be overlooked is actually innovation. Try new approach. So you might keep hearing about chatbot, for example. So what is a chatbot and why it is so important? Do you know that a website only gets 10 seconds to get the attention of the visitors? So this is something that, for example, Plan and Understand. And they are actually testing dynamic chat as a way to have a more interactive approach with the consumers, as this is something that they are interested in, and to give more control to the consumers. The interaction with the consumers will be in the on term. And this is a way to, again, have a better and more personalized approach to engage, reduce the lead progression time by actually cutting gate content with your consumers. Audit and invest in digital capabilities. Going back to personalization and to scale, actually drive being efficient and drive scale. So we talk about, again, the importance of having the right content at the right time with the right consumers. How do you do that at scales? How do you make sure that you maximize the reach of your consumers? You can use a couple of digital capabilities and analytics capabilities. So by leveraging AI and machine learning, you can not only understand, the likelihood of a person to become a sales opportunity, but you can actually score as well the engagement with the users. And so you can understand at real time during the purchase cycle who is the right consumers, where they are right now in the purchase cycle, and how to engage with them. And this is a way, to make sure that you maximize your marketing campaign impact. Draw on a wider range of data for insight and metrics. We cannot insist more on a measurement, attribution analytics. Why it is so important? So we talked about, the diverse and fragmented paths to reach consumers. And as a B2B marketers, you need to understand which campaign, which channel is going to be more effective than another. So the B2B, again, path to purchase is very complex, large, and long. You have different members of the buying team being involved, different campaign, channels, the length of the buying cycle is longer if you compare to B2C. So this is important to understand in real time which channels or campaign is going to work better than the other. So you can adjust the tactics, shift the investment that you're making accordingly to the impact and revenue that you're seeing from your different campaigns. Last but not least, focus on the integration of technology. So today, most of the marketing automation platforms are very powerful, and they actually grow and evolve to follow the needs of B2B marketers. And this is something that obviously you need to integrate, as most of the capabilities that we see here are not in-house for B2B marketers. For example, CRM integration to make sure that you empower and you have alignment between sales and marketing team to drive, again, better results and better return on investment. So to sum up on those key insights, a couple of takeaways that I would like to highlight. First of all, B2B customer journey had evolved. This is something that we are all aware. But what we are seeing is that even though we are aware of this evolvement and this change, B2B businesses are still struggling to adjust to the latest trends. And one of the biggest pain points is creating seamless customer journey. This is something that B2B marketers are still, struggling to deliver. But this is something that, as we've seen, is critical if you want to grow your businesses and to grow your revenue. Among the key areas to invest in and to look for is, again, personalization, digital capabilities to make sure to deliver personalization, and obviously, talking about measurement, talking about outcome performances. So look at marketing analytics. Do not look at primary KPI only, but make sure that you have the big picture, that you look at attribution, secondary KPI, so you know what to invest in and you are confident in delivering impactful marketing campaigns. So last but not least, after 2 years, we are happy actually to be back with our in-person experience makers. So feel free to scan the QR code that you are seeing here if you would like to register and actually hear from a couple of our customers on success stories around personalization at scale, around engagement of users across different channels, from great consumers experience like UC, Schneider Electrics, and this will be happening in Stockholm the 8th of November. So thank you, everyone, for listening, and feel free to let me know if you have any question and to connect with me if you want to hear more about marketing automation solution at Adobe.
Thank you, Anja. Very good and interesting. And I'm happy that you touched on the B2B areas. I mean, we really see that, of course, both B2C companies and B2B companies are interested in this. But could you just mention anything about the big differences? Because I mean, for me, B2B is more varied in terms of structure of customers, and you could be kind of a teleoperator with a lot of small organizations, more close to B2C, and then maybe you have these power plant customers that ABB or Ericsson or something. But is it a big difference between B2B and B2C in terms of the thinking and the structure of the project?
Yes, there is a big difference. So first of all, you need to know that in terms of expectation, consumers actually have the same level of expectation when it's B2B compared to B2C, meaning a very like high level personalized approach. The difference for marketers when it's about reaching B2B consumers is that it is more complex. The paths to purchase are longer. You have way more members involved in the processes. So you are talking about larger size of opportunities. You have different members of the committee on the consumer side being involved. Decision makers are coming from different type of functions. And obviously, the length of the buying cycle, again, is longer, and the way to approach, because of the diverse function, the way to approach and to reach potential consumers is, again, fragmented and very diverse. That make it, more complicated for B2B sellers to reach, to nurture, and to convert into actual consumers, B2B prospects. And this is why we think that marketing automation is critical to help and support sales team.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, I believe sometimes for B2B companies that you mix customers and contact persons within a customer, because I guess that contact persons maybe need to have different messages even within the same company, or?
Exactly. As I was saying, you have different type of function. You can have very technical oriented functions that you can engage with on the consumer side, marketing, finance, leadership. And obviously you need as a salesperson to adjust your message to the level of within the organization, the function, and the different level of the point of contact.
Okay. So, and I know, Daniel, we have some questions from the audience.
Yeah, we have a question here. Great presentation, Anja. Generally, there is a low match rate on email addresses when working with Facebook ads for business-to-business customers. Do you have a strategy to work around this challenge to be able to achieve cross-channel engagements?
Yes. So, as you know, we have this big and hot topic around third-party data. So, as you said, for different type of tech company, usually the coverage and the match rate for email matching is quite low. So one of the strategy that we are investing in is actually to leverage more and more on first-party data. So not only about email, but about new type of visitor ID, aggregated type of users. So we don't have only one type of data source like the email to leverage to kind of create a user graph that we can actually leverage when reaching consumers.
Okay, any more, Daniel?
Yeah, I had one more, but I think you kind of answered that question right at the same time. Oh, okay, sure. How will Adobe Engage tackle the increased browser privacy GDPR rules in the future? And can you utilize the marketing automation tools to its fullest capabilities?
Yeah. So something that is interesting, I think it's all about data sources. And something that Adobe is doing is that we do not have one source of data. We do leverage, we make sure that we move from third-party data to first-party data to tackle this post third-party data word. And so, as I was saying, we have CRM integration, we have CDP as well integration to make sure that we collect and we can harness first-party data and make sure that we still have, insight and insight on consumers, data on consumers to better target them.
Okay. So yesterday we had an event and discussed that product department and marketing department need to merge together in a way. But usually, I mean, I'm saying that sales and marketing need to merge together. Is that even more important for a B2B company if you implement the MA system, or?
Yeah, I think this is among one of the biggest challenge that B2B businesses are seeing. The disconnect between marketing and sales. And today, this is something that is very crucial, especially for B2B. It's not only about driving revenue, it's about creating campaign that will allow the sales team to actually turn the consumers and prospect into buyers. And to do that, we need to bridge those two functions. And we need to make sure that each function have visibility on what the others is doing and the impact on the action and campaign that they're doing. And to go back, this is something that, marketing automation is able to track, because you can, within the organization, have access to all those tools, make sure that you can have automation at scales, and that in real time, both marketing and sales team have access to the real-time data of each other's efforts and results.
Okay, good. What do you see that you need to have in place before you start the project with the MAC? Now, in our poll, we saw that everyone had a marketing automation system, but let's say that you maybe need to implement a new one or so. What are you supposed to need to have in place before you start?
It's a great question, and this is something that it's very technical, and it goes back to B2B, and how B2B is way more complex than B2C. I think something that's important is to involve all the key stakeholders, not only the sales team and the marketing, but as well solution consultants. Make sure that you raise the right question, that you look at the transition, for example, migration, the time, the length of the project, and answer all those questions. Make sure that you have all the caveats in one place, so you can actually start your projects.
Okay, good. We thank you very much, Anja, and we will meet you soon again. Coming back to Paris, I guess that you have like 19 degrees, sunny weather, and
I wish.
Yeah, we don't have that here in Stockholm. I tell you, that's rainy and like 5+ and so on. But
well, not so far in Paris.
But we will meet you again when you come back on the panel discussion.
Yes.
So
Yes.
see you soon again.
Thank you, everyone, and see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so I believe that actually it looks like, I mean, everyone has an MA system at the moment. I don't really see the effect of it. I usually go in and be member of these loyalty schemes at retailers, of course, as we're working with this area, and but I don't really see the good result of it from this onboarding process that you should get a lot of mails and so on. So I think there's a lot of improvements actually from companies, and definitely also from B2B companies. I meet some of them that say, no, this is not relevant for us. We have so good relations with customers and contact persons. But actually, of course, as we are also consumers, we get used to very good and relevant messages. So I think that also the B2B companies, as Anja said, also is very important to get on with this area. Okay, so let's continue the discussion. And very happy that you send in questions and chat in the chat. Daniel is ready. Send in more of them, or comments, or add on what you think about anything in this area maybe. And now it's time for a break. We will meet soon again. And first we will have a message from our partners. See you soon again. Welcome back, and I hope you had a nice cup of coffee. I tried to get one, but I couldn't find any actually in the break, so no coffee for me, but I hope you was more successful than that. So we had a first case, and we had presentation from Adobe and Anja. So now it's actually time for another partner and also a case. That's pretty interesting. We will listen to marketing automation specialist at Smart Senior, how they optimize their personalized marketing by transforming customer data into customer insights. And insights, that was one of the key words from our poll, right? So we will also meet pre-sales consultant at Efficy. Welcome on stage, Alexander Hedley-Ogrin and Joachim Spångberg. Nice having you here, guys.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you.
It's good to be here.
And we will hear about you, Alexander, pretty soon, about all your experiences and what you've done. But first, short words and interesting things from Joachim.
Yes, hopefully interesting.
Stage is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Joachim Spångberg, and I've been at Efficy for 8 years, and I've worked from everything from sales to actual implementation of our different tool set that we have. I mean, like strategic, operational, project management, pretty much everything within our platform and within the commercial organization. But we're not here for me. We're here for some great content. One shoe to fit them all. Like the ring, you know, one ring to rule them all. Can it really be that easy that one shoe can fit them all? Probably not, right? Well, what about the figurative shoe, marketing automation shoe? Can that really be a thing? Let's take a little recap into our recent history. Let's jump back like 6 to 10 years ago and see where we were then. It's already been mentioned before. There was like an email spray and pray mentality back then. Everyone wanted to push as many emails to as many persons as possible. I even had customers at the time bragging about how they had like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, like this huge bank of subscribers. Now what they were ignoring, or at least what they weren't looking at, was the fact that they had an engagement of like 20% open rate. So those hundreds of thousands were like 20% of that was their actual like core customers that they wanted to hear their messages. They were focusing on quantity over quality. And of course, now we know much, much more. We are evolving constantly. We've evolved from this ape sending out this very basic message to everybody into this lean, mean marketing automation machine that you can see to the top right or to the far right. Today, it's all about creating a great customer experience. And for a number of years, especially B2C companies, of course, have been very successful in this. And even more so, the e-tailers that are super dependent on everything that it is within the digital ecosystem, because they don't have the physical person that can actually greet you and ask you how you are or what you want, how they can help you, etc. So they're really dependent on the solutions that exist. But what about the B2B companies? Well, statistics can be really boring sometimes, but I love this number right here. 42% of B2B buyers are under 40 years old. They're millennials, Generation Y, much like myself. And have a look at this number and really think about what this actually means. Like, they have certain expectations that the previous generation didn't have. They expect everything to be instant. And think as we go along and the years go by and the next generation comes into play, like the digital natives, now they expect everything to be instant because that's all they know. There's if you have seen the Netflix documentary on Spotify, the playlist, Daniel Ek seems obsessed, and I've seen in interviews as well, so this actually seems to be true, but he was obsessed with the fact that the moment you click on the song that you wanted to listen to, that's when it should be played. And the CTO, Andreas Ehn, mentioned that it takes 200 milliseconds for the brain to perceive something. So if there is a delay of 200 milliseconds, then it is perceived as instant. And that's kind of connected to this generation, that they they want everything to be instant. They aren't used to the lag or the delay that the rest of us have been used to for so many years. And to add to this, the modern B2B buyer or the buying group, the amount of time that a salesperson has to actually influence the choices of the buyer has drastically reduced. So as you can see here, only 17% of the time is spent with prospective suppliers. And that's not just you, that's your competitor 1, competitor 2, competitor 3, depending on, you know, how many people they actually meet with. They actually spend 45% of their time doing their own research. Not meeting with you physically, but doing their own research. So the question is here, how can we give ourselves the best possible conditions to cater their needs? Well, we need to seriously start thinking about how we approach prospective buyers. We need to use the digital tools that are available to us. Now we can help them. We can educate them, we can influence them into making the right decision, of course buying from you specifically. But how? How do we do this? Well, I like to think of it as people. So CRM is your sales guy putting in data about your customers. Who they are, where they're from, where they are in the sales process, and what kind of deals they have signed before, etc. And marketing automation is your marketing team, creating the great content and making sure that it is pushed out at the right time, right? Right message, right time. That's the general idea. And most of you probably recognize this picture that you're seeing here, or some other illustration of your data being locked in these different silos. So you have your CRM data in one silo, email marketing data in one silo, web data in one, finance data in one, social media, etc. And they're not connected, or for most of you, maybe they're not connected at least. And to add to this, we also have the human silos. Now, this has been spoken about before today, but we need to talk to each other. I mean, marketing might not talk to sales, right? And finance is on a whole nother level in the building, and we don't even know where customer service is. We haven't really seen them. So the result is like this. A lot of people starting at the same line, but running in totally different directions, because we're not aligned. And we actually had this at our old headquarters in Malmö, where our previous CMO said, we need to literally bring down the walls between sales and marketing. That was the key for us. We need to break down these silos, both technology-wise, but also the human silos, which we actually did. He physically moved marketing team next door to the sales team and broke down the wall in between the different departments. So the message, of course, is we needed to be aligned. It's been spoken about before today as well, but we needed to be aligned within the company to run in the same direction. And the result was a much better, much smoother operation, more alignment between sales and marketing, and everyone knowing their specific role and how that specific role is connected to the common goal, getting this car back on the road. This, of course, can take a lot of time, and 4 years later, we are still having a long time to go, but we're seeing very positive results in terms of alignment and in qualified leads that we are getting in our company. So, can one shoe really fit them all? Yes, probably. I'm willing to bet my money on that it can. Of course, it's going to vary what you can do within marketing automation, but I'm willing to bet that everyone can use marketing automation. But don't take it from me. Listen to what our wonderful and brilliant customer has to say. Alexander?
Hello, thank you, Joachim. Cool. It's great to be here, and thank you for the introduction. Yes, so I would like to start by saying thank you to Efficy for having me, and also to Wednesday Relations for inviting me. I think I can hear a little echo. There we go. I think this should be better for everyone. Yeah, so my name is Alexander Hadley Ogren. I am a marketing automation specialist. So I'll switch to the right slide. There we go, this beautiful picture. I'm a marketing automation specialist at Smart Senior, which is a membership platform with over 400 offers for our seniors aged 55 plus. Before moving over to Smart Senior and starting as a marketing automation specialist, I was actually in Upsys. So Upsys is now a product of Efficy. So I've been working together with Joachim before, so we thought it would be very appropriate for me to be here today to speak from kind of an expert perspective in a way. So at Apsys, I was a marketing consultant where I would focus on marketing automation and really help all the customers achieve success within marketing automation. So later on, I just brought all of that into Smart Senior, and it's been a really great journey. So at Smart Senior, of course, I am responsible for our marketing automation flows, but also, everything related to data aggregation, data use, as well as, segmentation really builds into that, which is really something that I enjoy doing a lot. I think my colleagues would agree. Something that also I've been tasked with is our affiliate sales, basically where we get paid per conversion. So here I also get to use a lot of the data that I know. I get to really sharpen the message and send it to the correct people, so we get some great conversions. But not to waste anyone's time, we're going to move along. Let's see. So we're going to be talking about what everyone is here for, our MA setup and data, how we work with all of that. So at Smart Senior, we are a really digital organization with decision makers, board members, management, and everything like that. They really know the importance of being digital first. We also have a in-house IT, and it's really fantastic to have an in-house IT, for, at least I think so. We were discussing it a little bit in the break previously, and I think it's really fantastic to have. So when we want to make changes, we want to make it basically on the go. So marketing and IT are working very close together, so we can get everything the way we want it. And of course we're using Upsys One, which is a product of Efficy, and we're using the marketing automation system in there, as well as a whole other suite of functions. Of course, we have our API set up from our CRM going over to Upsys One. Where we're sending all of the data that we need to, to handle our campaigns, to segment, all of that sort of stuff. So, like things like email, name, birth date, city, zip code, mobile numbers, subscription statuses, all of that kind of stuff. And also the great thing with having our in-house IT is that if we have more data points that we want to move across, it's usually a fairly quick fix. We usually don't have to wait that long, which is really nice. We also want to get data back to our CRM, so and for that we're using some webhooks inside of One to send data back, for example, with the subscription status. So we have the unsubscribes also available inside of our CRM. It's also super useful for our customer services to be able to see, like the subscription statuses and change them and that sort of stuff when our members get in touch with them. As I mentioned before, we're using basically, I'd say, close to all features available inside of Upsys One. And something that I really liked when Upsys One was launched is the data collection possibilities for your website. So for our website, we're of course also collecting not only, our data doesn't really stop with a click in an email. We also follow them to our website. What are they doing on our website? Are they, which sort of campaigns are they looking at afterwards? And we can use this for retargeting. So maybe you clicked on one campaign, you continue to our website, and you moved on to another. We can then retarget you based on that secondary campaign, which I think is really cool. And we can segment communication to you based on that. We're going to move over to the next slide, what we do in MA, some more like practical examples. And I would like to start with, that I think that good good data makes good MA, really. So if you have good data, you can do some really good marketing automation. If you're not tracking the right sort of stuff, it's going to be difficult for you to make a successful marketing automation flow. And also, like pro tip, use all of the data you have, or at least have an intention with all the data that you collect. So when you're having certain sets of data, like try to look at them. Like if you're not using a specific data point, like how can you use that to enrich the customer experience? And it can be simple things like, you know, you have their birthday, why not send them a happy birthday email? Like, you know, simple. It can be simple things like that. Or you have their first name, like bring it into the email. You know that they like, they maybe you know where they live. Maybe you can segment based on that. All sorts of fun stuff. But to the practical stuff, I'm going to be talking a little bit about like our welcome flow, our reactivation flow, and briefly about our administrative flows that I mentioned before, like with the webhooks and that sort of a thing. So for our webhooks, for our welcome flow, not our webhooks, they're coming a bit later. For our welcome flow, they're very much expected, and they're very much expected pretty much immediately. I remember earlier this week when I became a member of a big store brand, and I think I got a welcome flow or welcome email a few days ago, and it was very clear that it was not very segmented. I had given them information that they hadn't brought into the email, and I thought that was a bit strange. So I think with digital maturity, reaching a broader audience is really important to meet expectations. So for our welcome flows, we're bringing in a lot of the benefits and a lot of offers, like freebies, that sort of a thing that we do offer our members. But I've also built in a bunch of different reminders. Maybe you haven't taken part of a few of our freebies. Maybe you haven't logged in for a while. Have you downloaded our app? All of that sort of a thing. And if you haven't, we try to build in some reminders. If you haven't downloaded our app, we'll send you a link where you can download it. If you haven't logged in since you became a member, we'll help you with reset your password, and we'll send you your username, that sort of a thing. Also, with our reactivation flow, here we're doing pretty much the same thing. If you haven't logged in for, I believe it's about a month, which we found to be a pretty good level for us, where we got some good conversions, because you don't want it to be too early, you don't want to be too late where you lose them completely. But here we help our members to to log back in. We send them their username, password reset links, just so that they have easy access to them. They don't have to go looking for them essentially. But if the problem might be more related to the offers that you're seeing, since Smart Senior is a membership platform where we have offers and campaigns for our members, for our different partners. Maybe you haven't seen anything that you liked recently, so you haven't bothered to log in to have a look. So that's when we're trying to send segmented emails based on gender and age and interests and that sort of a thing, and we segment what sort of campaigns we think you might be into, what might get you to log back in, pretty much. And I've been mentioning these different area of interest segments a little bit. So, we've been looking at what kind of different partners we have, what kind of different offers that we've had, and we do the website tracking inside of one. So we've narrowed it down to a few bigger segments that we like, that are well used within our organization, within those who are interested in fashion or travel or cars, home decoration, home electronics, that sort of a thing, just so we can use these for retargeting. If you've clicked on, maybe newspapers who are with home decorations, you're probably interested in another newspaper within home decorations, that sort of a thing. So we can really dig into the right audience, get to the right people. So they're really fantastic for email sendings, and I'll be getting into some numbers a little bit later. We're going to talk about something a little bit different. We're going to talk about examples of challenges, and I'm going to try to not keep this too long so we have time for everything. I know we're on a time limit. So some examples of challenges has been, when you collect new data, that you might be missing some historic data. So when you want to start a new project, maybe you haven't looked forward enough, basically, with what you want to do, what your future plans are. So when you want to start a new project, you have to hold up a little bit, collect, for example, website data with a new parameter, and then maybe it will be a few months before you have a target group that you can actually focus your new project on. But also, as Joachim mentioned before, combining silos, getting data from different systems into the other one, so you can really segment on all the data you have. As I mentioned before, like you shouldn't really just gather data for the sake of gathering data. I think it's really important to use all the data you have, and breaking silos is very important when doing that. Yeah. Cool. So just to keep track of everything with time-wise, we're going to move over to something more fun, some examples of success. And I think a really great example of success has been our reactivation flow that we started not too long ago. But with our reactivation flow, it's basically been where people haven't logged in for, I believe it's a month, where we're sending them the email with the offers and the retargeting there, as well as with the help of logging in. So here we actually got a open rate, so the OR, of 60%. And of that, we got a 30% CTOR, so click to open rate, meaning those who opened who also clicked. There was 30% of those. And out of those who clicked, we got a soft conversion. Basically, they logged in based on that click. So the soft conversion was 47%. So here it's like fairly easy for us to do. We had the data, we had all the information, we know what our members are doing online and when they logged in, and we just dug into our data and looked at what value can this bring us, and we got these great conversions. Also for the segment sendings, as I mentioned before, we had like the fashion, travel, home decorations, electronics segments. So when we apply these, we actually get a click rate which is typically 5 to 15 times higher than it would if we just sent the same message to our full base. And this really goes to show that we're hitting the right people. So instead of sending to full base, we'll send to like a very tiny little part of our base. Then we're still getting all the same clicks, basically. Also, when doing these segmented sendings, we've managed to increase our affiliate sales, so sales per conversion, by about 500%. Since I started, working with that just over 6 months ago. So, a little effort goes a long way. And finally, before moving along, we're going to talk a little about future plans. I saw this picture and I just thought this was such a lovely picture with this couple like looking over where planning their future. But for Smart Senior, we don't have a vineyard in plan. We have going a little bit more multi-channel, working a little bit more with our push notifications. So we're trying to be a little bit multi-channel, where we want to bring our segments into our push notification tool, which is external, and we also want to be able to use our push notifications from our app inside of our welcome flow, using again these webhooks. So we're trying to really work even more with our segmented sendings, not just in emails or SMSs, but going the extra step. But also something that we decided that we should look into quite recently is also to reactivate our unopens. So those who are simply not opening our emails, we know who they are, we know what emails they've opened, we know their area of interest, what they're interested in, what they do on our website. We simply just have to, get them to re-engage with our emails. So that will be another fun project that we're going to try to do together with marketing automation and together with Efficy. And that is all from me. For
Thank
now.
you. So welcome to the city here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting. And just a quick question before we have the panel discussion. First, for you, Joachim, what is the difference between email marketing and MA? Briefly, or
Good question. For me, it's very much about putting the customer first. So if you think about email marketing, it's me as a marketer who sets the rules, right? So I decide when I want to push some communication and I decide who to push it to. What marketing automation enables is to do it on the customer's terms. So it's much more based on where you are at in your sales or in your buying process or whatever marketing automation flow it is. So it's much more customer focused and on your terms as a customer.
And outside in thinking more
Yeah.
than okay.
Exactly.
Good. Also, a quick question for you, Alexander. I mean, some people say that, oh, old people, they are not so digital and you need to do the totally different communication and so on. But what is your experience? 55 plus, that's your target group.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, what I can see is really that, I mean, the seniors age 55 plus, they're a lot more engaged in the content that you do. They get a more personal connection to what you do, really. So I mean, and I think we can say that we can kind of see this in our open rates kind of as well. That, you know, people really seem to engage with our content. They get in touch. They like engage in social media. All of
They
that.
maybe
So
have more time.
yeah, I
Or-
think that
yeah.
maybe that's a parameter as well. That
Yeah.
you know, they have the time perspective as well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, Daniel, he's taking pictures now. But Daniel, do we have a question from the audience?
Yes, we had
Before
one
we-
question for Alexander, but maybe everyone who
Yep.
can answer it separately. Just it's a classic question. What CRM systems do you use?
What CRM systems? We have our CRM inside of Umbraco right now. And we're moving everything, all the data then through the API that we need to use over to Upsys One.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So let's continue with the panel discussion. And welcome back, Anja. Do you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very
We
well. Perfect. And I will have some questions. And of course, you in the audience, you will also hopefully send in questions for me, and we will have that with Daniel checking. So please send in questions, so not only me asking them, even if I will ask them. Okay, so first question. I mean, I've been talking about that MA is so important that you need to actually implement it more than it is a competitive advantage. It's more like a hygiene factor these days. Annika, do you agree, or what do you say there?
I agree with that, and I think that also the maturity level of the companies, for example, Sweden, it's getting higher and higher, and most companies do have some sort of email marketing or digital marketing or marketing automation in place today. I don't think that everyone is utilizing the possibilities of having marketing automation in place, but most companies do have something, because you have to meet the customers in a digital way today.
So what is it easy to use it as an expensive email marketing system? Is that what they do if you do a mistake or a miss?
Yeah, that could be one way of looking at it, that you have a system in place, that you have the possibilities to do a lot of more customer flows, journeys, and communication throughout the customer lifecycle, and then maybe just sending newsletters, for example.
Okay, good. Anja, in terms of customer expectations that we've been talking about today, what do you see as from an international perspective? Are they increasing, and is it tougher and tougher to satisfy them, or?
Yeah, definitely. Customer expectations are increasing. Actually, B2B customers now, they want to have the same seamless experience that they know from being a consumer. So it's all about being very user-centric, individual-centric. And so greater expectation in terms of customer experiences during the purchase cycle.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone would like to comment here in the studio? Expectations? Yeah.
Yeah, well, in terms of internationally, I agree. I think they're like growing and growing, and I think as well here, everyone's expectations keep growing all the time, and like I mentioned, and everyone's mentioned before, like the expectations become more and more all the time. So as soon as we're served with one thing, then we expect more and more and more, and so it's just an eternal improvement cycle.
And I think, Alexander, you were very interesting when you said that don't collect information you don't need or don't see any use of. Use everything that you have. And I think maybe that customer expect if you ask things, then you're supposed to use it and give me some value. Or
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've kind of noticed similar things with I'd say our partners who are having the offers on our website, where we're working a lot with data, and we're working with how we can target the right people without sending it to everyone and just making people sick and tired of the message. And they've told us that they've brought these kinds of questions with these kind of segmentation to our competitors, and they're not really seeing the same possibilities there. So I think that's it's once you see it in one place, you expect it everywhere. If we would want to ever to replace Spotify with something else, we would expect something similar but better. We wouldn't accept over 200 milliseconds, basically.
And isn't that one of the challenges, that if you're not that huge company, people compare you anyway with Spotify or Facebook or all these large global companies, Amazon's, or so of course that is a challenge to keep up with that expectations. Good, yeah, Annika.
Yeah, and I think that companies today, they don't lack data around their customers, because we give a lot of data away and everyone knows that. So everyone has a lot of data around their customers, but they're not using the data. And the customers are expecting that data to be used in the communication. And they want the companies to actually understand them and know them, because they've been telling them so much. So that is the expectation.
I asked Anja after her presentation about the difference between consumers and B2B customers, or actually the companies. But Anja, could you also see, are there any expectations, differences in terms of when you are a consumer and a B2B customer?
Yeah, I guess, I think it's all about engagement as well on the long term, because, the purchase cycle is longer and you have different touch points. So I think it's, as Annika mentioned, it's all about, the good balance between like sharing data and not enough data. So you need to, be aware of who's your audience is, how to, better reach out to them with the right message. And this is something that is very important for B2B consumers. And this is something that you need to know at various stages of the purchase cycle that, will last longer. So we feel like high quality engagement is expected from B2B customers.
Okay, good. Thanks. Daniel, you tell me when you have questions, right?
We got questions.
Okay,
Yeah.
send them in.
Great. We have a couple of viewers asking the same question, kinda, and it's about the trust in opening rates and click rates today, because as we know, due to privacy policies, it's harder and harder to put some trust in that. What's your reflection around this issue?
To my knowledge, at least, opening rates, right, especially with I call it Applegate. But the opening rates have historically not been 100% trustworthy, actually. It's never been. What we usually talk about is the click-through rate, or the click rate, because that is definitive. That is something that we can track, actually. So click-through rate is probably the most trusted source of data.
But what about if it's a robot that clicks and everything?
Yeah, you kind of expect it, depending on the brand and depending on like the amount of subscribers you're communicating with. You kind of have this like small discrepancy, and usually when it gets bigger, and at least from our deliverability department, they say like, okay, well, we can actually see when there is a discrepancy that is larger than it should be. So you can kind of identify these robots from that sense.
Okay. Anyone want to add?
No, I just agree. I mean, open rate has never been a true science in that sense. It's always been a few question marks to how accurate that actually is, and this is just adding to that. So we just need to find other things to measure to see how successful our communication is, or campaigns, or what it could be, click-through rates, or maybe ending up on your website, or how do you follow that, and things like that. So there would be other things to measure.
Engagement, as you said, of course, is maybe one important measurement. Okay, Anja, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I'm very much aligned. I think, one of the key points is that we don't have one real-time source of truth when it's about, tracking, for example, like those rates. And, depending on the different platform that you're using to measure that, you will always have discrepancies. But then as mentioned, even through click-through rate, if you talk about bots, it's easy to spot that if you have, like 1,000 clicks by the same user ID for example, the same ad, it's easy to remove, those outliers to try to have an accurate measurement.
Okay. Thanks. Daniel, any more?
We have one viewer here that I think maybe wants some inspiration. Can you name a couple of companies that do great marketing automation?
That's a good one.
Do you know anyone who does great? I think
What
that
about Möller?
yeah, exactly. They do great loyalty programs and customer-centric communication and engagement. And then I think Stronger do some really cool stuff on loyalty programs and how they display their members club, for example. I kind of like that. So I think there are bits and pieces that attracts me, and I think different people will say different brands and different experiences actually, because it's so broad. Do you have any other good examples?
I totally agree. It's like, what brands do you interact with?
Yeah.
For me, I wear contacts, and it's such a cliche, but I don't know how many of them, but most of the opticians, digital opticians, they have this like replenishment flow. So whenever I run out of contacts, they kindly remind me, and I purchase more. Which, I mean, I get the business of it, but it actually brings value to me. So I think that's a great example as well.
Almost like a subscription.
It is, yeah. But I don't want the subscription.
No.
No.
Then you can have it, I guess. No, I agree. Okay, good. Another question, maybe it's open for everyone, and that is, what is companies' major challenges when it comes to MA? Implementing or running? Anyone wants to start, Annika?
I can start. I think to actually understand the complexity of it, not just the implementation or not just running it, but it's a transformation piece, because it does cut through different departments. You have sales, marketing, and IT. They need to collaborate. It does cut through process for all of in the organization. So it requires things from the organization, within the organization, and it requires a change so that you can utilize marketing automation to its fullest potential after it's implemented. And I think to understand that and know how to make that change internally could be a big challenge for a lot of companies.
And just to add to that as well, you're mentioning change, and as we all know, change takes time.
Yes.
Like I mentioned, it took us like 4 years to be where we are today, and it takes a lot of time to change something so drastically in how you communicate.
Also get all the employees to get used to it and understand. And
Exactly. Getting everyone aligned.
Okay.
But I do think that the companies who sees this and changes the organization, or how the marketing team works, or what kind of roles they have within the marketing team that are more specialized for marketing automation, they are the most successful.
Good. Alexander?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking back like on my marketing consultant days, and like what kind of challenges I would see with different customers. And I think the main, like, the pain points would essentially be like, like cross departments helping each other out basically, and it would maybe be like go in touch with combining these different silos and breaking them down, like, and is there a back queue for getting help from IT? There was one customer that I had, and they had a backlog of 2 years before they could start with their implementation. So we started up, we were building things, and then we had to put everything on hold. And I'm not sure if it ever got picked up again. We will see. But also, maybe digital maturity across the organization. I suppose you could say it's like, scared of change. Is this safe? Like, how are we going to work with this in a good way? Like, is this really the right thing to do? And sometimes, not really daring to try, I suppose, or like the challenges that I could see as a marketing consultant previously.
Sometimes maybe you just have to try and see if it works, and maybe take it away or change it if it doesn't work.
Like test it, do something different, like do split tests, try this thing, try this thing, what like gave us the best conversion and best engagement, and then just take it from there. And there were a lot of companies who wouldn't really take that step, kind of. So
I know we had a webinar about experimenting, that we need to do that much more. Anja, what about? I mean, maybe you have a comment on this one, but also I would like to ask you, What about setting all these rules that you need if you maybe don't have an AI engine? But is that difficult?
Yeah, I think it's, to go back to the challenges when it comes to AMA, I think one of the main challenges is the data one, because it's not about, having siloed data anymore, but it's still hard for B2B businesses to activate and have one real-time source of truth. And then, you have the technology challenge as well, with very like large numbers of point solutions that are needed to be integrated and maintained. And we discussed as well about the organization setup and the disconnect between different functions, especially the sales and the marketing. So I guess that having those AI and machine learning as well is a way to kind of bridge those disconnects, and to leverage data, leverage learning as well, and apply them at scale to make sure that we try to have a unified view and a seamless process between different functions.
Okay, good. And I know you're sending in questions. Very happy about that. Daniel?
Yes, one question here that's in line with the previous one we just talked about, and that's what are the top 5 requirements for an organization to build a successful marketing automation system flow? I guess, what do you have to have in place to get started with a successful marketing automation in an organization?
I would say buy-in from C-level, that this is really an important project that the whole organization needs to stand behind to make it successful. I think that's a priority.
And how do you get the buy-in from C-level?
You explain the project for them, and you need to push it that way as well. Usually initiatives come, well, a lot of time the initiative comes maybe from the marketing department or the customer service department or the sales department, but then everyone needs to collaborate, and this is an important decision, and it will have an impact on the whole organization. So I think it's definitely one of those success factors to get that buy-in, because it takes time also.
Yeah, and I usually also say that because it's easy to complain about C-level or top management, they don't really understand the value and so on, but I also believe that it's important to do a business case, show the money for the C-level, because that's what they're thinking about.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Any other comment, Anja?
Yeah, I would say that I think among the key components, I would say CRM is key. So, on the purpose to build CDP for B2B, this is becoming more and more important for the next phase of marketing automation evolution. And, something else is as well the content. How important it is for marketing automation to have great content, to create great content, and how to manage it as well.
Okay, no. Good. Next question for me coming up here, and that is, I mentioned where we had a CDP day, and someone showed Gartner survey, I believe, from Europe, and it was a high percentage of implementation of CDP platforms. In Sweden, we test the attendees here, but that was pretty low. So that was interesting, big difference. What about MA here? Is that a big difference between Nordic companies and rest of Europe, rest of the world? Or maybe Anja first, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I would say that Nordic company, at least from what we see with Adobe customers, that are very close to UK and the US in terms of maturity, which is actually more mature than compared to the rest of EMEA. We do see though that decision takes longer, and then companies are more, taking more time when it's about selecting the right vendor.
Okay. And here in the studio, comment on this?
I think that pretty much aligns with my view of it, hearing from our colleagues over in Europe. The maturity level for marketing automation seems to be higher here, at least in Sweden, than in the rest of Europe. So yeah.
Good. Happy to hear. So this CDP coming on, and of course CDP, I guess, is an important part as a next step when you when you continue the MA journey, or?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, the main thing again is the data. Whether you have wherever you have your data and however you connect your data, like that is the key. And then if you do that in a CDP or in a marketing automation, combined with a CRM or combined with any other part, it's all about the data in the end.
I totally agree with that. I mean, it doesn't, it's kind of secondary where you host the data. You just need to understand exactly where is the data, what kind of data it is, and how do you get it to the marketing automation platform in the right format to trigger the communication when you want it. And then sometimes you need to work with what you got, and sometimes you need to implement the CDP, which is great if you have it, but it's still, you need to map it out, make sure the data is where it should be and it gets to the place so it can trigger the communication in when you want it to.
Okay, good. And what about if you're looking at best practice cases and so on, and sitting there and want to understand other companies? Is there any industries you should look at that are better than others in implementing AM and using it and getting value out of it?
Well, the front runners are, of course, the e-tailers. I mean, those who live in the digital ecosystem. Because they like we mentioned earlier, they don't have the physical person to take contact with. Maybe they have some support or customer service or something, but they don't have that physical presence. So they have to rely on the digital ecosystem. So they are usually leading the line.
Yeah, and I think also I've seen examples of, as you say, that e-com that is fairly new in the business. It's easier for them. They get the new systems and platforms and the new sort of ecosystems, and they don't have a lot of legacy systems in place. So they don't have a lot of tradition or legacy. So they start fresh from the past like 5 or 10 years. So it's kind of easier to adopt to this new way of working in that sense.
Good point.
Okay. Alexander, what systems is important to integrate with for an MA system? You say you mentioned CRM in the past.
I mean, really, all of the different systems where you're collecting data in somehow, and all the different systems that you want to, communicate through. I think there should be some sort of connection there, in my opinion, at least, so you can easily get data across. And so, as I was mentioning before, right now we have our app and we have a external system where we handle our push notifications. But right now, it's not really implemented in with, for example, our marketing automation system. There's no really gap, or it's a gap in between there. Really, it's one of those silos that we're trying to smash into several pieces. So I'd say, every kind of data collection system that you use and every communication system that you use, in my opinion, there should be a connection there somehow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So finally, your one important message that you like to come across to the audience to bring home after this conference. Should we start with Anja?
I think one of the important message is leverage on the best practices and the learning, as MA is evolving as well as B2B marketer strategies. So it's always good to be up to date on the latest trend, the latest innovation, product release, and compare what each vendor is doing, so that you give your business the best chance to grow and to drive better revenue and ROI.
Good, thanks. And a short one, Annika?
Don't, always stay curious of what's happening, because the implementation of this is not the end of the project. It's actually the start of the project, because there's no static around this. It keeps evolving. The customer is going to ask for new things. There's going to be new systems, going to be new pieces of data. So always, stay close to that and keep changing and be curious, so you actually meet your customers to where they are. And I think that's going to be successful.
Good. Joachim?
Super short.
Super short.
I mean, look at your sales cycle, your sales process, whether you're a B2C or a B2B company. See where is there a gap in that cycle. Like, can it be filled with marketing automation? And find the lowest hanging fruit there. Low effort, high gain, and try to fill that one, and then start with the next one and see the results.
Good, thanks. Alexander?
Yeah, so I would say after you filled the main pain points, and then after that, just try to bring value essentially from every set of data that you have. So if you have any data that you're not really using, see if you can bring value to your subscribers, your members, customers, partners, whatever, with those data points, say would be my key takeaway.
Good, thanks.
An experiment.
Okay, and we throw that away, and now it's time for the second break. And before that, or after the break, you will meet Choice Hotels and Bonnier News. So 2 cases, don't miss that. So take a cup of coffee, do whatever you need, and see you soon again. And first, a message from our partners. Welcome back, and always feel a little bit sad after the second break because it's soon over, and it's my favorite conference, as I mentioned at the beginning, so not so good there. But 2 very exciting presentations, so I look forward to that one. Some industries loved COVID period and were very successful, and some industries, they suffered more. Travel and hotels is one of them, I tell you. From crisis, you can also get creativity and see opportunities, of course. And we will now understand how Nordic Choice hotels handle marketing automation in a multi-brand environment, and of course learn a lot from the pandemic area. Meet marketing automation manager at Eberry, Zacharias Linder. Welcome, Zacharias.
Thank you very much.
I'm very happy to have you here. You've been on our conferences earlier, but with working for other companies.
Exactly, but that's the beauty of marketing automation. It's sort of the methodology is pretty much the same, but then you can apply it to all kinds of industries, and many things are similar. But it's about taking care of the guest and the customer.
And of course, your companies you're working for, they get more and more value, you more experience you get.
I hope so, at least. That's the intention.
But Zacharias, I said that you're working for Eberry.
Yes.
But what is the difference between Eberry and Choice Hotels?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Eberry is a company within Nordic Choice Group. And it was founded 6 or 7 years ago. With the purpose of handling the customer journey, actually. So all the kind of digital services, front-end services that we are providing to sustain the relationship with the guests. So everything from our web, our marketing automation, and it also incorporates our membership programs, etc. So that is centralized in this Eberry company.
That's an interesting company then.
Very
right
much
company
so.
For you to work in.
I hope so. So it's a great place to be.
Welcome, stage is yours.
Oh, thank you. Right. Hello, everyone. So my name is Zacharias Linder, and I'm a marketing automation manager at Nordic Choice Group, and also at the company Eberry more specifically. I'm going to talk a little bit today about our marketing automation job in general, how we sort of have set it up, what some of our challenges are, and more specifically also I've chosen for this presentation also to focus on one of the areas that I think is very interesting, is about when you have a multi-brand environment and multiple types of relationships to maintain. How do you do that in a scalable way, which is partly what marketing automation is about. It's about finding those things that can be automated, but yet you want to have this personalized content and experience. So how do you manage that in practice? I don't promise you to give all the answers, but I will give you an idea where we are, how we are approaching this and what we are going to do next. So hopefully that can be some valuable insights for you. So shortly, just about Nordic Choice. For some of you that might be a familiar brand, but for some of you not. But to give you a brief idea, Nordic Choice, it's a Nordic brand, and it covers actually two divisions. It's Nordic Choice Hotels, which in turn also is represented by the brands Clarion, Quality and Comfort. And we also have another division called Nordic Hotels and Resorts, which is built up by more independent hotel or sub-brands such as Yasuragi or Villa Copenhagen, strong hotel and sites that sort of, to a large degree, goes under their own brand. This group was founded in the 1990s, and it has been expanding rapidly under the command of our leader Petter Stordalen, and I think he's an interesting character and a brand himself. But he has, I think, changed the hotel industry within the Nordic region, and to a large degree, and also the way of thinking about the guest and experiences within the industry. So that is really interesting. And today, Mats talked about COVID. We have been an industry that has been suffering quite a lot the past 2 years, but we're still standing, and we have a lot of ambitions going forward. Shortly also, today we have about 4.5 million unique guests visiting us each year, and we have about 250 hotels, and that is growing also by the month. Both by we building our own new hotels, but we also are acquiring other existing hotels into our group. But also, we should not only be considered as a traditional hotel or accommodation company. We're also one of the biggest, largest restaurant chains, bar chains, and spa and conference providers within the Nordics. So it's a quite huge challenge to manage all this within one single brand, and also when it comes to marketing automation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the marketing automation at the Nordic today. So, of course, the very core of our business is what is going on site. You're booking hotel, you're having experience in our restaurants, in our spas, you're having conferences, etc. So that's of course the core delivery and the experience that we are providing. But the communication around that is, of course, a crucial part of enhancing that experience. So it's about how can we inspire, inform and confirm the customer or the guest in various steps when it comes before your booking, or when you have made an appointment with us, during your stay, and also after that. And of course, as a loyal member or guest, we also have between your visits also different types of communication towards you in order to make you sustain the relationship with you as a customer. Right, and the challenge, I think previous speakers has also been touching about that. When we talk about marketing automation, we are at a quite low maturity level. So we have both systems, we are running a lot of communication, but in terms of how we do that, I would say to a large degree we do mass marketing in direct channels. So right now we need to rethink and re-engineer both not only the technique and how we're utilizing that as such, but we also really need to consider ourselves as an organization. How are we setting up our processes? How are we working? Do we have the right kind of competences, etc.? So really those soft parts are the really hard parts right now. And I began this summer with this, and we have a lot of job to do. I won't present any success business cases today, but I will tell you a little bit where we're going. But to give you an idea how we have set up the marketing automation today, as I mentioned, we have 250 hotels and about 2.2 million members and 4.5 million guests relationships. So there's a lot of data coming in, and managing this is of course a tricky task. So first of all, we have a huge job bringing the data about the guest and what the guest is doing, everything from transactions, visits, preferences, responses, etc., how they interact with our communication. All this kind of data is collected in various systems. So we need to bring that data together. And some of that data, of course, needs to be in real time, whereas other types of data doesn't change that quickly, but it needs to be assembled at one place nevertheless. And we have chosen to go with a vendor Salesforce for this purpose, so we have a Marketing Cloud and Service Cloud in this purpose. And the beauty of those platforms is that once you have the data in assembled here, you can pretty much manage the relationship with a single individual in a very good manner, in a good way. So we, via Marketing Cloud, we today do all types of direct communication, both via own channels, so that can be predominantly email. We have talked a lot about email marketing today, but it's also including SMS. We do push notifications. We work a lot with personalized web pages. So when there is specific content that is important, where we want to utilize the information we have about you as a customer, we can also provide that in a web interface. And there is, of course, to some degree also outbound calling and inbound calling from call services. So that can be managed. But apart from that, we are also moving beyond the sort of traditional CRM channels, connecting also to the third-party platforms such as Meta, Facebook and Instagram and Google. So we utilize our first-party data both for activation and also suppression when we do various campaigns in those channels. And once you have this assembled in one place, like in Marketing Cloud, it also makes it easier to orchestrate the communication towards that single individual. So even if we heavily dependent traditionally on email marketing, we now try also to elaborate where we are mixing channels and also look at the responses from the customer, because some customers like to have communication or information sent to them via email, whereas others prefer that we perhaps send it via SMS or we provide it via Facebook. So we try to find, based on the data we have of each individual, the most suitable channel orchestration also. Lastly on this picture, I think a very important thing when you talk about marketing automation is that you need to constantly monitor the response from the recipient, because when we are pushing out things, there's a tendency that you always look, okay, if we take 2 million customers and send them this, we get a X amount of sales. But if you don't look at that, okay, 99% of the population here didn't respond in any sense. They basically perceive this as spam. There's a high risk that you have a very short-term perspective of this relationship and you basically start spamming your own customers. So even with these powerful tools and the systems which are available today, if you don't have a proper setup and a mindset about this, you can very quickly also, marketing automation can quickly raise your results, but it can also just as quickly make your ruin your relationship towards your customers. So that is very much, and in order to measure that, or in order to see that, you need to measure it and also talk about it with the organization. So constant learning from the responses that we see from the customer. Right. So if we are to sort of sum up our ambition, when we talk about marketing automation internally, I think this picture might be a good way of illustrating it. So ultimately, it's about handling a customer journey, and we have multiple touch points with this customer. Sometimes we know that we have really our customers have a really good experience, and sometimes we do pitfalls. Marketing automation is a way of course, collecting all these types of events and also sort of on an individual level, setting the right switches and tuning towards that individual. So we avoid more of the pitfalls and enhance more of the happy moments with this customer. But the technique as such, any tool can be used for several, for good purposes and bad purposes. So it always requires skilled people to run this. And when I say skilled people, it means people that have a clear idea of how they are, what they want to achieve, why we are running certain activities, etc., and sort of can adjust accordingly. So I think the human factor in marketing automation is essential. Am I still on time?
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. I continue. So a little bit about our challenges. I mentioned some of them, but I want to focus more on what I said, local and central, because when you set up marketing automation, as we are representing 250 hotels and several different brands, we can't have 250 marketing automation teams and 250 systems doing this. We need in some way in order to get the economy of scale, etc., and also to keep a coherent brand experience, we need to centralize certain things. But we don't want to do that on the expense of what is really important in the relationship. I mean, the local experience, what you experience on Yasuragi or at a quality conference hotel is really the core part of the relationship. So when we're talking about automation, how can we still have this sort of get the local touch and the important part from that aspect, but yet in a common and a coherent way. And so the problem here is really a very basic question when you talk about marketing automation. To whom do the customer or the guest have a relationship to? Is it to the Nordic Choice Hotel as a brand? Is it to the Clarion chain or some of the other chain? Or is it to the hotel itself? I mean, of course, it can be all three at the same time. But just to give you an example, today, if you book a room at one of our hotels, or you might even go via booking.com or hotels.com, it means that when you get your pre-arrival information, you will get it both from those OTAs, the booking.com, etc. They have processes up and running. The hotel will start triggering their communication, and also we started doing centralized thing. And the poor guest gets overwhelmed, and it's basically a meltdown because it's overlapping information. You don't know really who am I talking to here. And of course, it's not the customer's job to know how we are organized. It's our thing to get this straight. So that is really a crucial part. Yeah, so if I move on, what we have been doing is both on a strategic level addressing this, but also it has a lot of operative and consequences, which I will talk a little bit more here. So first of all, what we will do during next year to address this is we will actually remove the Nordic Choice brand as a whole, and instead replace it with the Strawberry universe or the Strawberry brand. And the idea behind this is basically that we are actually an ecosystem of experiences. You can visit our hotels, you can visit our restaurants, spas, etc. You can travel, you can do it in your home city, or you can do it elsewhere, etc. But there's a lot of opportunities, as we see it, for you as a guest to come and visit us, and we want to create that connection and associations within the mind of the customer. So Nordic Choice brand will be removed, and the Strawberry will come instead. And we will yet have the Clarion, the Quality and Comfort, and the Nordic Hotel and Resorts Hotel as part of this, but it will be a new main brand. And on a more practical level, this has several implications. So since the end of the summer, we have been working closely together with the hotels to find a balance between what they are doing and locally and what we should be doing centrally to support them. And the outcome and what we're building right now within our marketing automation system actually is interface. We have been talking together with a couple of hotels, basically looking through all their direct communications, ask them what is important for you, what kind of information do you want to get out to your guests before they arrive, during the stay, etc. And when you talk to the different hotels, you see that to 95%, it's the same thing that they want to inform or communicate to the customer. But they've all done this find their own solutions of doing this. What we're now building is a web interface where they can give all this local content. They can select target groups, etc., without even having to write a string of code. So it's all dynamically and it's controlled by us centrally, but they can give all the input they want. And we store this into a local content database, basically, where we then can manage centrally this communication with the customer. So we can, when we ultimately send out SMSs or emails or any type of direct communication, we can do it with a blend of central important information and things that we know about previous visits from you as a customer, but we can also pick in various parts that is really important during your stay at the hotel. So this is something we really believe is, because then we can have 250 hotels providing input, but at the very end, from a receiving point of end, you will have it personalized and dynamically according to who you are, when you are, what your previous preferences and what's happening on the hotel that you will visit. So I think this is a model and a concept we're trying out now, and if it turns out well, we will also scale it up, and we will also broaden it so it can incorporate basically all touch points that a hotel can have with a customer. So, yeah.
Thank you. Come here.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for an interesting presentation. And I understand, I mean, it's a challenge with all these different brands and to control them and so on. But it sounds like the things you mentioned in the end here, that you kind of a shared service with providing the solution, and they can enter their own content and so on and create that, or?
Exactly. So we basically, I mean, one way of putting it, we built our own content management system. But we did it within Salesforce, so it's not something that comes out of the manual, but we took the tools that were available and created this web interface where they basically can edit their content and set all the rules, etc., and then don't have to mind about all the technical details about it. We manage that centrally. And I mean, it's also one of the reasons doing so is, of course, it's extremely hard to find these kind of skilled resources, and it's impossible to find if each hotel should run this on their own. Of course, I mean, we would need to find every person available within the Nordic market doing this.
But you mentioned also that they could select the target list of people to communicate with. But how do you control so don't 3 hotels select the same kind of people?
Yeah,
and they
so that we will need to manage the rules centrally. But then so it's one part is the technical thing. We can adjust these rules, etc.
Yeah.
But there's the important thing here is the dialogue with the independent hotel, so they understand. Okay, we're part of a bigger context, and we also listen to them. Okay, what is really crucial for you to control, and etc. Because there will be a compromise of total freedom versus some degree of control. But if we centrally would say, okay, this is the way it will be working. This is the solution we have, and then try to push it out. People would probably they would find their own ways around it.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a cooperation here, and I think also we, as sort of representing the headquarter, our job is of course to listen in, try to find the common areas and find the solutions for those and support those.
Them,
Yeah, that's our job.
But it sounds like a good combination and a good solution.
Yeah.
Of it,
And I mean the beauty. I mean, once you meet the hotels, I mean, people don't want the hustle with all the technique and the logic, etc. They, what they ultimately want to do is, I mean, they're running a hotel. They want to give a good guest experience, including the communication. So they are the experts on that, and we only should sort of the tools are only means of doing so.
Good. We have a question from the audience.
Yeah, one question that has popped up during the day is concerning the new privacy rules and GDPR.
Yep.
How are you guys at Choice Hotels tackling this?
Yeah, I think it's a constant struggle because we collect a lot of data, but also what legal basis are we doing that? Why are we doing it, etc. Sometimes it's consent. Have we ensured the consent in a proper way? Are they registered, informed in a proper way, etc. All those kind of things. So that is something we are, of course, constantly monitoring. I think the thing we're looking most into now is basically when you're using first-party data for in third-party platforms. So you're basically taking your own customer data into other parties' platforms. Technically, that's a small thing to do, but legal and also sort of making the customer understanding. Okay, why are you doing this, and what's the benefits for me as a customer, allowing you doing that?
Yeah.
That's I think so, and ultimately it goes back to trust between us and the customer. If they trust us, that we treat their data well, and that in everything we do, we use the data in a wise way, it's easier to get those types of consent. But it is a tricky question, and I think as of today, most of our customers do not allow us using their data on the third-party platforms, which is it's
the way it is.
It's the way it is,
Yeah.
but we're trying to improve that, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you, Zacharias.
Thank you.
It's time for the second or the last presentation. Very interesting. We will do this presentation in Swedish, but as the slides will be in English, I guess that some of you anyway can follow up, and then we will end in English again. So, en annan bransch under snabb förändring är ju media. Och Bonnier News vill vara bäst in class. Hör om resan för att komma dit. Ska vi ge en stor applåd till Therese Mattisson. Välkomna. Hej. Så. Välkommen i studion.
Tack.
Alltså, jag har ju noterat att Bonnier, det är väldigt mycket olika företag, och det är fastigheter och det är magasin och det är så här. Men Bonnier News nu, vad representerar ni? Är det dagstidningarna eller?
Ja, men bra fråga. Vi har ungefär över 100 stycken ledande, starka varumärken. Vi jobbar med både tryckta och digitala magasin, digitala nyhetstjänster, men också om du tänker breaking news, podcast och så vidare.
Okej, spännande.
Så, ja, allt från Automat kanske ni har sett, ett magasin, eller Expressens nyhetssajt, Dagens Nyheter, Dagens Industri.
Toppen, tack.
Ja.
Välkommen. Scenen är din.
Tack snälla. Ja, men idag så tänkte jag prata lite om lojalitet, och att dra in en ny kund kostar ofta mer pengar än att öka värdet och lojalisera den befintliga kunddatabasen. Ändå så satsar många företag mer kraft och resurser på att generera nya kunder än att lojalisera. Varför tror du att det här kan hända? Eller varför är det faktiskt så? Ofta är det så att mäta effekten av lojalitetsarbete kan ta längre tid än att mäta direkta köp. Och det kanske till och med kräver nya sätt att arbeta på, nya kopior, men har varit en väldigt viktig del för Bonnier News att kunna öka nettotillväxten. Då vi ser att vi har kommit till en platå där vi nästan tar in lika många kunder som vi kanske ibland faktiskt också förlorar ut. Och jag kan tänka mig att några av er kanske är sugna på lunch, men jag hoppas och tror att ni vill hänga med den här sista delen för att få lite inspiration av hur Bonnier News jobbar just med lojalitet och kanske ge er också inspiration till några case som vi önskar skala hos oss just nu. Och detta faktiskt för en fas som jag upplever är lite gömd i kundresan. Och jag tror att det finns faktiskt ganska många gömda värden i de analyser som vi redan har gjort för kundresan. Och jag tror faktiskt att de finns hos er också. Nu ska vi se om den vill byta slide. Klicka. Nej, nu, hoppsan. Så, vad bra. Så jättekort om mig. Jag heter Therese och jag har jobbat på Bonnier News i snart 8 år inom olika roller inom digital marknadsföring, marketingautomation och även förändringsledning. Och jag är väldigt intresserad av hur man får ihop de här teamen. Om man pratar både strategi, ledarskap, agila mindset och hur det kan liksom möjliggöra snabbfotade kulturer och team. Så tillbaka då, vad är egentligen Bonnier News? Vi gick igenom det här lite snabbt, vilka varumärken vi företräder. Men ni ser också här vilken räckvidd vi har. Vi når en väldigt stor del av svenska befolkningen varje dag. Men också med ett sådant stort bolag som vi också är så finns det ett väldigt stort ansvar. Det fria ordet är en stor del av vår kärna, men om man också tänker på den pressfrihet som finns och som kanske också minskar givet all det innehåll som finns och delas på alla olika plattformar, så kan det bli svårt som konsument eller besökare att förstå vad är det äkta budskapet? Vad är skillnaden mellan nyheter och propaganda, sanning eller lögn? Jag vill ju veta faktiskt hur det ser ut och där har vi ett jättestort ansvar och del i att säkerställa det. Vi är också på en resa. Vi håller på att digitaliseras och transformeras. Vi har satsat väldigt mycket på marketingautomation, men vi ser också att det finns jättemycket mer potential att hämta inom just det området. Så det team som jag representerar, vi jobbar med Expressen Lifestyle och det står då för Expressen, nyhetstidningen och sajten, men också ungefär 25 stycken digitala och tryckta magasin. Och varje månad så skickar vi ut ungefär 6 miljoner nyhetsbrev med en stark öppningsgrad på 53% i snitt och en klick på 7,5%. Och vi har också tittat på vilken levetid det här bidrar med till våra prenumeranter så att liksom hela tiden titta på hela flödet snarare än bara öppningsgrad och klick är superviktigt. Genom hela e-mailkanalen så driver vi ungefär i snitt 450 000 klick varje månad. Och detta är inte bara nyhetsbrev utan det kan också vara onboardingflöden och andra typer av engagemang. Klick om man tänker på leads, konvertering eller de kunder som inte har en prenumeration längre som vi önskar ska komma tillbaka. Och vi driver ungefär nästan 5 000 köp varje månad och detta är då inte nya kunder utan på faktiskt den befintliga kunddatabasen genom att annonsera i nyhetsbreven eller prata med olika typer av MA-flöden till de passiva kunderna. Och detta hoppas vi kunna öka med tiden för att vi har en datadriven tillväxt där vi hela tiden tittar på hur mycket klick vi driver just nu och vart vill vi vara om ett år. Så när man driver förändring och gör den här resan som vi har gjort så tror jag att de här 6 områdena är superviktiga. Och några av dessa har vi säkert liksom pratat om lite här under förmiddagen. Men lite kortfattat, way of working är superviktigt. Att se till att de teamen som ni jobbar med drivs av gemensamma värderingar, de bygger på tillit, men också att liksom ett nyfiket sätt att lära känna varandra och de kompetenser som man har och tillför i teamet. Onboarding och aktivering av leads och nya kunder är också väldigt viktigt. Vi ser i våra analyser att det bidrar med levetid och ett ökat intäkt. Och det kan också vara till exempel om man får ett lead att inte bara se till att man ska få dem att köpa någonting direkt utan omborda dem på produkten och innehållet eller nyhetsbrevsprenumerant. Ombordar ni dem idag eller ser ni till att bara skicka innehåll direkt? Kan vara en bra fråga att ställa sig själv. Vi tittar också på hur vi kan använda scoringmodeller för att mäta det engagemang och det digitala avtryck våra besökare gör. Så om ni tänker er en tratt eller en rektangel eller någonting så ser ni att liksom en användare kan ha olika liksom, engagemang. Det kan vara ett lågt engagemang, det kan vara ett mellanlågt kanske eller ett högt. Och där är det viktigt att titta på hur de olika målgrupperna rör sig och förflyttar sig i det här engagemangsscoret. Och till exempelvis genom att titta på det här så kan vi se att vi ökar konverteringsgraden genom att tillämpa detta. Så en kund som har ett högt engagemang kanske vi vågar kommunicera oftare med, medan en kund som har lågt engagemang kanske vi väljer att inte ha lika hög frekvens. Den fjärde delen skulle jag säga är att titta ändå på att man har en gemensam vision och riktning i hela organisationen. Och för att liksom återgå lite till det Zacharias pratade om så kan det vara att olika varumärken, affärsområden eller avdelningar har olika mål. Men någonstans måste vi kunna liksom hitta effektiviteten och skala tillsammans. Och då krävs det att man har en tydlig riktning och strategi på toppnivå. Men som också tittar på så här, hur ser vi på gemensamma definitioner av KPI:er, mätetal och så vidare. Har vi rätt insikter för att kunna agera på dessa? Och inte bara massa KPI:er som vi inte agerar på. Den femte delen handlar om att jobba korsfunktionellt. Där ser vi en stor framgång i att blanda olika kompetenser och få dem att bli snabbfotade med tydligt mandat, gärna end-to-end och jobba tight tillsammans för att leverera och testa snabbt mot användarna. Och där kan jag liksom verkligen trycka på att outcome är väldigt mycket viktigare än output. Det vill säga titta på effekten och följa upp vad era insatser har gett snarare än på antal tester. Och den sista delen skulle jag säga är nettotillväxt. Att helt enkelt titta på både generera nya kunder men också retention. Och idag så tänker jag att jag ska gräva lite djupare i dessa två områden, alltså onboarding och crossfunktionella team. Men jag tycker att det är jätteviktigt att vi tar avstamp i kundresan. För det är ändå här allting börjar och kanske till och med slutar. Det vill säga våra användare och besökare. Och det handlar ju någonstans om att få dem A till B, att göra en action. Och de olika faserna i en kundresa, men de känner vi säkert redan till så de behöver jag inte gå igenom. Men någonstans så tävlar vi ju om våra besökares uppmärksamhet och det är många som vill nå ut till dem. Och lite som vi har nämnt tidigare, det är väldigt lätt att skicka all kommunikation till alla, men någonstans behöver vi vara relevanta och inte se till att vi spammar våra kunder och får en hög opt-out. Och att göra det komplext är egentligen inte så svårt längre. Det går att bygga jättehäftiga algoritmer och personaliserade resor. Och utmaningen kanske snarare är att göra det enkelt för en kund. Vi och i teamet jobbar mycket i ett digitalt verktyg som heter Miro, där vi visualiserar och mappar våra kunders digitala resor. Där vi kan titta på hur kommunicerar vi med dem i olika kanaler, hur ser våra automatiserade flöden ut och hur presterar de? Vilken statistik har de? Lär känna våra siffror och trender. Och vi även benchmarkar oss mot andra företag och gör omvärldsanalyser. Och en intressant fakta är att när vi har tittat på omvärlden så ser vi att många företag ombordar och aktiverar faktiskt inte sina kunder. Och vi har ställt oss frågan i teamet, hur kan det komma sig? Vi jobbar väldigt mycket med just denna delen i fasen. Kan det vara så att den är lite bortglömd eller helt bortprioriterad för att man inte har sett värdet i den? Och därför tänker jag ägna resterande tid i att faktiskt gå igenom hur vi jobbar med onboarding för att kanske inspirera er. Så jag kommer gå igenom 3 case, 2 väldigt kortfattade och det första här lite mer djupgående. Så vi vet att det finns en väldigt stor potential i att onboarda och aktivera våra nya kunder. Men vi nyttjar inte den potentialen till fullo. Vi känner oss ganska begränsade i hur vi har ombordat kunderna. Vi har jobbat med mejlkanalen framförallt, där vi har byggt fantastiska fina flöden som presterar egentligen ganska bra. En snittöppningsgrad på 50% och då kan ombordningsflödena täcka sig upp till 14-30 dagar där vi pratar i olika flöden och liknande. Men då betyder det också att det är 50% som vi inte når, som inte ombordas. Okej. Ja, vad gör vi med dem då? Okej, vi tittade externt, hur gör andra, som sagt. Vi tittade internt, vad är våra kunders beteende och kom fram till att men vi måste hitta vi har ett behov och det måste vi lösa. Så det vi gjorde var att vi samlade ett crossfunktionellt team av 6 stycken personer. Utvecklare, marketing automation specialist, en UX-are, en person från journalistiska sidan och bad dem att hej, kan ni titta på denna uppgiften och se hur ni kan lösa det? Och det de gjorde då var att skapa hypoteser tillsammans, både kvalitativt och kvantitativt, titta externt men också internt på de kundanalyser som vi redan har. Och de kom fram till en MVP helt enkelt, en prototyp som de vill testa snabbt ut mot våra kunder. Så de jobbade med en onboarding pop-up, en karusell som funkar på sajten på Expressen. Som också då har AB-testats med dess innehåll, färger och så liknande. Nu kan jag tänka mig att ni är lite nyfikna på att se hur den faktiskt ser ut. Så det här är faktiskt fortfarande vår MVP. Den kommer syns för alla våra nya kunder på Expressens den digitala prenumerationen och det är ungefär strax under 10 000 nya prenumeranter varje månad som kommer bli exponerade för denna. Och den segmenteras på 2 olika produkttyper. Antingen om du har köpt den digitala eller printprenumerationen. Den guidar dig till att hitta innehåll och funktioner som ingår i din produktportfölj, produkt. För att vi helt enkelt ser att det är viktigt att vi liksom visar kunden vad du faktiskt har betalat för och bör nyttja detta. Men också en varm rekommendation till att ladda ner appen då vi vet att det är väldigt lojaliserande om vi får våra kunder att börja konsumera vårt innehåll och den produkt de har köpt i just appen. Och det som är också intressant här är att jag vet att teamet bollade väldigt mycket kring att kommer den här karusellen eller pop-upen vara störande eller irriterande för nya prenumeranter att få upp? Är det viktigt att man kan stänga ner den och liknande eller klicka sig vidare? Men det intressanta här är också att det har faktiskt visat sig att det har genererat ett väldigt stort värde snarare än att vara störande. Så av alla de här prenumeranterna som ser pop-upen så är det alltså 60% som klickar sig vidare från välkomst, den första sliden till nästa och 48% som går igenom hela onboardingen. Och detta i sig då har genererat hittills 11% längre levetidsvärde på 6 månader. Vi har ju inte haft den här live så mycket längre så går inte att mäta en på 1 år. Men det som jag tycker är superintressant var att vi satt och räknade på det här bara för någon dag sedan för att veta men hur kommer det se ut hypotetiskt framåt. Hittills har det genererat några ökade intäkter på ungefär 300-400 000 kronor. Men givet att förutsättningarna håller i sig, att det presterar som det gör, att vi har samma intag, så kommer vi ha ökat intäkterna med nästan 3,5 miljoner på bara 2 år. Och då får man också komma ihåg att detta är ett löpande värde som kommer sträcka sig ännu längre fram i tiden. Och det ger oss också en ROI på över 700%. Tänk dig det, en liten MVP som ger allt det där värdet. Våra nästa steg är att vi önskar skala den MVP till flera varumärken hos Bonnier News. Vi vill bygga möjlighet för användare att integrera med karusellen. Det vill säga kanske välja lösenord, signa upp sig på fler nyhetsbrev, köpa en annan typ av prenumeration eller produkt. Att kunna trigga den i olika faser i kundresan och så vidare. Och mina topp 3 insikter i varför det här projektet lyckades så himla väl. Men jag tror att det handlar om delvis för att gruppen började litet. De hade ett behov de skulle lösa tillsammans och testade ut mot kunderna i ett väldigt tidigt skede för att se om vi fick den effekten som vi trodde. De jobbade korsfunktionellt genom hela projektet men också iterativa processer med ett öppet och agilt mindset runt om hela delen i sprinten. Ett annat case som jag tycker är superviktigt som jag vill lyfta, det är att inte glömma kvittosidan efter köp. Det är väldigt lätt att man tänker att nu har jag gjort ett köp, nu är jag klar med kunden. Men här finns jättedyrbar och värdefull tid att nå kunden när den fortfarande är i köpflödet. Och vi har jobbat med att addera CTA, det vill säga call to action, på denna sida. Där vi ser att kunderna faktiskt väljer att sätta sitt lösenord direkt och därmed också kan börja konsumera sitt innehåll eller produkten har köpt. Och till exempel Arki, vår e-magasinsapp, får ungefär 3000 nya kunder digitalt varje månad. Och av dessa så sätter faktiskt hela 54% sitt lösenord direkt här på kvittosidan. Och då får man inte heller glömma att vi slipper ju prata med denna kunden via e-mailkanalen och på så sätt slipper spamma dem och vara mer relevanta. Och ett case vi håller på med just nu, det är att vi ska personalisera onboardingen lite mer. Och absolut, coola algoritmer i all ära och datamodeller och så vidare. Men någonstans är det också viktigt att komma igång och börja enkelt att kapitalisera på det värdet vi redan har idag. Och det har vi gjort genom att vi jobbar fortfarande faktiskt såklart i e-mailkanalen. Och här är då tanken att vi vill att våra nya prenumeranter ska sätta eller skapa sin profil direkt. Vi skickar ett mejl med 2 enkla frågor. När vill du läsa och vilket innehåll är du intresserad av? Kunden svarar på detta jätteenkelt och sen så uppmanar vi dem till att addera sina favoritmarkeringar i appen och att logga in. Bara dessa små steg gör att vi sedan kan automatisera den kommunikation som sker därefter. Men till exempel segmentera push-notifikationer och liknande baserat på de svaren som kunden har angett. Nu är detta såklart någonting då vi bygger i denna sprint och inte kan berätta om något värde än så länge. Men jag hoppas och tror att detta blir en jätteframgångssaga för oss också. Så avslutningsvis, vad är det då som möjliggör att man blir framgångsrik inom marketing automation? Ja, men någonstans är vi väl ändå alla överens om att data är en jättestor möjliggörare. Jag tror på att det är jätteviktigt att se till att ni har rätt insikter, att ni har gemensam vision och definition på hur ni mäter KPI:er eller andra typer av begrepp som är viktiga, men också att våga skala. Att liksom hitta best practices som man kan dela över hela organisationen istället för att uppfinna hjulet på varje varumärke och avdelning om och om igen. Det är också viktigt att se till att man optimerar hur man jobbar eller att man är datadriven, men också att se till att testa och liksom skala de testerna man gör. Eller ser man att någonting klickar 2%, ja, men fortsätt jobba vidare med det och skala vidare. Och det som klickar mindre än 2%, ja, men gör om, ta bort. För det är uppenbarligen inte av värde så som det ser ut idag. Att optimera hur ni jobbar i teamen, way of working, att underskatta, det är ändå där någonstans magin sker. Men också att optimera och titta på hur ni tittar på siffror. Ser ni det på samma sätt? Tittar ni på trender över tid snarare än bara enskilda månader? Hur såg det ut förra året vid given samma tidsperiod? Och så vidare. Och slutligen då ha agerbara KPI:er där teamet lär känna sina kunder helt enkelt. Så jag tänker att ni ska få någon minut här över att faktiskt bara reflektera själva. Vad tar ni med er från det idag? Och har ni någonting som ni vill börja göra redan imorgon utifrån det ni har hört av föregående talare och mig?
Therese, jag är helt imponerad över allt du visade och det lät också väldigt strukturerat. Ni hade koll på KPI och resultat, men också hur ni jobbade och agila teamet och crossfunktionellt som jag tror också är väldigt viktigt. Liksom. Men du nämnde någonting som också tycker jag, vi har inte pratat så mycket om idag, är ju kundresan. Mm. Hur ser du på det? Är det liksom kritiskt att ha den klar när du ska börja jobba med MA?
Men jag tror att man ska inte underskatta att det är väldigt lätt att tänka inifrån och ut. Hur tycker vi att det ska funka baserat på de punkterna vi har idag från kundservice eller från teamet och så vidare. Men någonstans, det handlar ju om kunden så man måste vända på det utifrån och in. Vad är kundens behov här och nu? Och det behöver inte betyda att det ser samma ut om ett år utan man måste liksom ha det färskt, att hela tiden prata med de avdelningarna som har direktkontakt med kunderna. Och jag tror att för oss har det varit jättelärorikt att mappa och visualisera detta då exempelvis i Miro för att på något sätt titta, okej, så här ser det ut idag, hur ser den här interaktionen ut, hur går det? Är vi nöjda med detta? Vad ser vi gap? Vad vill vi förbättra? Och så vidare. Att hela tiden liksom optimera, det är ett ständigt arbete.
Jättebra. Vi har frågor från publiken.
Precis, en fråga som kom ganska tidigt i din presentation, det är hur räknar ni ut engagement score? Har ni något speciellt någon lojalitetsplattform för det och så vidare?
Ja, jättebra fråga och det går ju att göra ett väldigt komplext svar till den. Men det vi tittar på är bland annat frequency, det vill säga hur ofta har du loggat in under sig given tidsperiod, 30 dagar. När var du senast inloggad och hur mycket har du konsumerat, det vill säga antal sidvisningar.
Toppen. Stort tack till Therese, jättekul och du var väldigt tydlig med allting. Vi ska avsluta lite nu, tänkte jag. Så att I will switch into English again. If you now are full of new insights, ideas and energy, I suggest that maybe our education certified marketing automation specialist could be of interest for you. And we have a picture of the next start of that is March 21st, 2023. So just go in and check that on our website. I would like to thank all the speakers that have been here today. I think they've been tremendous. Also to all of you that watched this conference, to our partners that made this absolutely possible to do. It's Adobe, it's Efficy, it's Oculos and Recoordinate. You see them there. And I hope I see you very soon again. So it's time to say goodbye and see you soon again.